of brick with shingles over a wood frame above that. They devised an asymmetrical floor plan with a high roof crowned by white gables in a departure from the highly structured architecture of the High Victorian period. They called for mixed materials, characteristics of the Queen Anne style. Richardsonian arches, common in the shingle style, were included in the upper floors. European influences such as terracotta sunflowers and imitation half-timbering were superimposed on an American-style exterior. The house was a cruciform layout with longer west and east wings separated by shorter north and south wings. There are large central gables on the third floor on the south, west, and north wings. The large piazza wraps around the west wing. Inside, the main door on the south side opens into the front hall. The library is to the right, with the dining room north of that on the other side of a hallway. The parlor, later the drawing room, is to the left of the entry door. The kitchen, pantry, and laundry were on the east side of the house. The second floor was divided into family bedrooms, a nursery, guest rooms, and the house's sole bathroom. I'm sure they had more bathrooms added on. Unless that was the only full bathroom. The third floor had the gun room, family bedrooms, servants' bedrooms, storage rooms, and a sewing room. Above the doorway on the west side of the house, wood carved into the lintel, the Roosevelt family motto, Qui plantavit curabit, he who planted will preserve. At different times, T.R. farmed between 40 and 95 acres, so he lived up to the maximum. With the house project launched, T.R. dealt with his grief by throwing himself into his work. He completed his term in the legislature. Then in June he left for the Dakota Territory, where earlier he had purchased 2 ranches after delegating oversight of his daughter in construction in Cove Neck to Bammy. For 2 years, T.R. shuttled between the West and New York. He raised cattle and hunted game, including some whose heads were shipped east to adorn the house at Sagamore Hill. He wrote to Bammy from Little Missouri, Dakota, on June 17, 1884. I have never been in better health than on this trip. I am in the saddle all day long, either taking part in the roundup of the cattle or else hunting antelope. I got one the other day. Another good head for our famous hole at Leholm. In another letter to his sister from Fort McKinney, Wyoming, on September 20th, 1884, he does not refer to the house as Leholm. I soon shot all the kinds of game the mountains afforded. I came out after 2 weeks, during which time I killed 3 grizzly bears, 6 elk, 3 of them have magnificent heads and will look well in the house of the hill. I have now a dozen good heads for the whole. Roosevelt found emotional solace in what is now North Dakota, but he also suffered stock losses from bad weather, which almost ruined him financially. T.R. had promised his bride, who was accustomed to the bustle of Boston and Manhattan society, that she would have the company of his family members on rural Long Island. Even though Alice was gone, he took action to expand the family enclave in Cove Neck. Roosevelt, whose inheritance made him comfortable as he came into manhood, was financially stressed early in his career and sold 2 parcels in December 1884. One, 28.19 acres on the southwestern part of his land, went to Bammy for $5,000. He conveyed 32.5 acres, running all along the southern edge of the property, to his aunt Anna Bullock Gracie, his mother's eldest sister, for $5,000. That left him with 95 acres. While T.R.'s home was being constructed, James K. Gracie had the famed firm of McKim, Mead, and White design a shingle-style house on the land his wife Anna had bought. They named it Gracewood. T.R. expanded his holding by purchasing a meadow, beach, and land along Eel Creek in 1900, but he also continued to sell parcels to relatives. A 6-acre field on the southwest portion of the property was transferred to his uncle James in 1894. The next year, James purchased the 28 acres TR had sold to Bammy in 1895. TR exchanged land with his cousin William Emlyn, who was known by his middle name Emlyn, and his wife Christine in 1906 to provide a right-of-way for an access road. That left him with 87 acres, the size of the property until Edith gave 4 acres to their son Ted III to build his old orchard home in 1938. Emlyn and Christine owned 62 acres to the northeast of Sagamore Hill and 61 acres to the south. His southern property included the 32-acre Gracewood tract, which he acquired sometime before 1906, making him the largest landowner on Cove Neck. That's also 155 acres when he added it all up. After the Sagamore Hill residence was completed in March 1885, an ice house was built on the east side. The octagonal structure was used to store ice cut from nearby ponds. Sagamore Hill's first occupant was Bammy, who entertained polo players and fox hunting guests at her brother's urging, while he returned to New York periodically to see his daughter and new houses, well as keep up his political connections. TR was in Cove Neck from June to August 1885 to attend parties, chop wood, and ride. That year he participated in more than half a dozen fox hunts. He returned in October and invited the Meadowbrook and Essex hunts to Sagamore Hill. While chasing a fox with 34 other riders, TR's horse clipped the top rail of a 5-foot fence and fell over on its side atop a rock pile. Roosevelt broke his arm. His face covered it with blood. He remounted and continued the chase. When he got back to Sagamore, Alice was waiting at the stable with her nurse. She fled in horror from the specter of her bleeding father, and he chased her, laughing. That night, he presided at a hunt ball wearing a sling. Oh my God. It's amazing he didn't break any teeth or anything. Maybe he didn't go head first. But still, that's scary. TR and Bammy retreated to their Manhattan house on Madison Avenue rather than spend the winter in cold and drafty Sagamore Hill. But he would return east for good for the following year and find a new mistress for his house on the hill. To be continued.